Life is not a straight path. It's a winding road filled with ups and downs, successes and failures, good days and bad days. You're going to fail. You're going to fail again and again and again. But here's the thing. Failure is not the end. It's not the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. And if you keep pushing, if you keep moving forward, you're going to win. That's life. A life without challenges isn't life at all. It's just existence. And you don't want to just exist. You want to live. You want to thrive. You want to conquer. But to do that, you have to embrace the struggle. You have to move toward the challenges, not away from them. You have to attack them head on, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Let me tell you something. Struggle sucks. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It's exhausting. But it's also necessary. It's where growth happens. It's where you discover what you're truly made of. And here's the secret. It's all about how you frame it. If you see struggle as something to avoid, you'll never grow. But if you see it as an opportunity to become stronger, smarter, and more resilient, you'll start to see it as a gift. Because every time you face a challenge, you're building the mental and emotional muscles you need to handle the next one. And there will always be a next one. Life doesn't stop throwing challenges at you. But the more you face them, the better you get at overcoming them. Freedom is something we all want. Freedom to live life on our own terms, to make our own choices, to pursue our dreams. But here's the truth. Freedom doesn't come without discipline. In fact, discipline is the price of freedom. If you want freedom in your life, you have to have the discipline to earn it. If you lack the discipline to exercise and eat healthy, you'll end up a slave to disease. If you lack the discipline to work hard and save your money, you'll end up a slave to your finances. If you lack the discipline to manage your time, you'll end up with no free time. But if you have the discipline to do the hard things, to exercise, to save, to work, to invest, to manage your time, you'll end up with freedom. And not just freedom in one area of your life, but in every area. Discipline is the key that unlocks the door to a life of freedom and fulfillment. Now let's talk about failure. Failure is inevitable. You're going to fail. A lot. But failure is not the end. It's not even the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is quitting. Quitting is what kills dreams. Quitting is what keeps people stuck in lives they hate. Quitting is what happens when you let your excuses take over. And let me tell you something. Your excuses will destroy you. They'll take everything you ever wanted from you. They'll make you feel better in the moment, but they won't help you. They won't move you forward. They won't get you closer to your goals. All they'll do is keep you stuck in the same place, making the same mistakes, living the same life. Here's the hard truth. When something goes wrong, when you fail, when you don't accomplish what you set out to do, it's not your boss's fault. It's not your girlfriend's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not the weather's fault. It's your fault. And that's okay. Because when you take ownership of your failures, you take control of your life. That's what extreme ownership is. It's looking at your life, your job, your finances, your relationships, your health, and saying, the reason I have these problems is because of me. That can hurt. It can sting. It can make your ego want to scream and make excuses. But it's also unbelievably empowering. Because if the problems are your fault, that means the solutions are in your hands. You have the power to change your life. You have the power to fix what's broken. You have the power to create the life you want. But to do that, you have to stop making excuses. You have to stop blaming other people. You have to stop waiting for someone else to come and save you. You have to take responsibility for your life. And that's not easy. It's hard. It's painful. It requires you to confront some uncomfortable truths about yourself. But it's also the only way to move forward. The only way to grow. The only way to win. Let me give you an example. When you talk to people who went through SEAL training but didn't make it, most of the time they'll give you a reason. A medical reason. A family problem. Something that made it impossible for them to continue. But the truth is, the vast majority of people who don't make it through SEAL training don't make it because they quit. They quit because it sucked. They quit because it was hard. They quit because they didn't want to push through the pain. And that's what happens to most people in life. They quit. They give up. They let their excuses win. And then they spend the rest of their lives wondering what could have been. Don't let that be you. Don't let your excuses destroy you. Don't let them take everything you ever wanted from you. Take ownership of your life. Take responsibility for your failures, and then get to work fixing them. Because when you do that, when you take extreme ownership of your life, you'll start to see changes, you'll start to see progress, you'll start to see wins, and even when you lose, you'll be better prepared for the next challenge. Because here's the thing, life is full of challenges. You're going to have wins and losses, successes and failures, good nights and bad nights, good relationships and bad relationships, good ideas and bad ideas. You're going to make money and you're going to lose money. All of these things are going to happen. And if you let them control you, if you let them dictate your emotions, you're going to have a hard time. But if you embrace them, if you learn from them, if you use them to grow, you'll become stronger. You'll become more resilient. You'll become unstoppable. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. Keep pushing. Keep moving forward. Keep attacking the challenges in front of you. Don't quit. Don't make excuses. Take ownership of your life. And most importantly, have discipline. Because discipline is the key to freedom. It's the key to success. It's the key to living the life you want. So go out there and do something hard. Something that scares you. Something that challenges you. You may win, you may lose, but either way you'll be better for it. And that's what life is all about. Becoming better. Becoming stronger, becoming the best version of yourself. Now let's talk about emotions. As men, we get a lot of conflicting messages about emotions. We're told to suppress them, to hide them, to act like they don't exist. But that's not healthy. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They're not something to be ashamed of. But here's the thing. You can't let your emotions run your life. You can't let them control you. You can't make decisions based on how you're feeling in the moment. Because when you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to make bad decisions. You're setting yourself up to live a life of regret. So, what's the solution? Balance. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's not about letting them run wild. It's about finding a balance. It's about acknowledging your emotions, feeling them, and then moving forward. It's about saying, okay, I'm sad right now. That's okay. I'm going to feel this, and then I'm going to get control of it and carry on with my life. Because that's what life is about. It's about moving forward. It's about pushing through the hard times. It's about not letting your emotions or your circumstances define you. And here's the thing, it's not easy. Finding balance is hard. It's much easier to be extreme. It's much easier to say, I'm not going to feel anything, or I'm going to let my emotions run my life. But that's not the answer. The answer is balance. It's finding that middle ground where you can acknowledge your emotions without letting them control you, where you can feel them without being ruled by them, where you can be human without being weak. And that's what we're striving for. That's what we're working toward. A life of balance, a life of discipline, a life of freedom. Because when you have balance, when you have discipline, when you have control over your emotions and your actions, you can achieve anything. You can overcome any challenge. You can live the life you've always wanted. So don't give up. Don't quit. Keep pushing. Keep moving forward. And remember, the only way to fail is to quit. So don't quit. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep living. And one day, you'll look back and realize that all the struggles, all the failures, all the pain, it was all worth it. Because it made you who you are. And who you are is someone who doesn't quit. Someone who doesn't make excuses. Someone who takes ownership of their life and fights for what they want. And that's the kind of person who wins. That's the kind of person who lives a life of freedom and fulfillment. That's the kind of person you are. So go out there and prove it. Let's pick up where we left off. Life is hard. It's messy. It's unpredictable. But it's also beautiful. It's full of opportunities, growth, and moments that make it all worth it. The key is to embrace the struggle, to lean into the challenges, to understand that the pain, the failure, the setbacks, they're all part of the process. They're not here to break you. They're here to build you, to make you stronger, to prepare you for the wins that are coming your way. But here's the thing. You can't just sit back and wait for life to happen to you. You have to take action. You have to move forward. Even when you don't know where you're going, even when you're scared, even when it feels like the odds are stacked against you. Because standing still, that's not an option. Standing still is waiting to die. It's waiting for life to pass you by. And you're better than that. You're stronger than that. You're meant for more than that. So, if you're lost in the woods, start walking. If you don't know what to do something. Anything. Just start moving. Because the perspective isn't going to change until you do. The answers aren't going to come until you take the first step. And that first step, it's the hardest. But once you take it, once you start moving, you'll start to see things differently. You'll start to see opportunities. You'll start to see a way forward. And before you know it, you'll be on your way to where you want to be. But here's the catch. It's not going to be easy. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. There will be days when you want to quit. Days when you feel like you can't go on. Days when the weight of it all feels like too much. And on those days, you have to remind yourself why you started. You have to remind yourself of the life you're fighting for, the person you're becoming, the dreams you're chasing, because that's what's going to keep you going. That's what's going to give you the strength to push through. And let's talk about those dreams for a minute. What is it that you want? What is it that you're working toward? What is the life you're trying to create? Because if you don't know, if you don't have a clear vision, it's going to be hard to stay motivated. It's going to be hard to keep pushing when things get tough. So, take some time to figure it out, to really think about what you want. And then write it down. Make it real. Make it tangible. Because when you have a clear goal, when you have something to fight for, it's easier to keep going. It's easier to stay focused. It's easier to say no to the things that don't matter and yes to the things that do. Now let's talk about balance. Because life isn't just about work. It's not just about chasing your dreams. It's about finding balance. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about being present for the people you love. It's about enjoying the journey, not just the destination. And that's not easy. It's hard to find balance. It's hard to juggle all the different aspects of your life, but it's necessary. Because if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't take care of your relationships, if you don't take care of your mental and emotional health, you're not going to be able to sustain the life you're trying to build. So how do you find balance? It starts with self-discipline. It starts with making the hard choices. It starts with saying no to the things that don't align with your goals and yes to the things that do. It's about setting boundaries. It's about prioritizing. It's about understanding that you can't do everything, but you can do the things that matter most. And that's what balance is. It's not about doing it all. It's about doing what's important. It's about living with intention. It's about making choices that align with your values and your goals. And let's not forget about emotions. Because emotions are a big part of life. They're a big part of who we are. And as men, we're often taught to suppress them, to hide them, to act like they don't exist. But that's not healthy. Emotions are natural. They're human. And they're not something to be ashamed of. But here's the thing. You can't let your emotions control you. You can't let them dictate your actions. You can't make decisions based on how you're feeling in the moment. Because when you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to make bad decisions. You're setting yourself up to live a life of regret. So what's the solution? It's about finding balance. It's about acknowledging your emotions, feeling them, and then moving forward. It's about saying, okay, I'm sad right now. That's okay. I'm going to feel this, and then I'm going to get control of it and carry on with my life. Because that's what life is about. It's about moving forward. It's about pushing through the hard times. It's about not letting your emotions or your circumstances define you. And here's the thing. It's not easy. Finding balance is hard. It's much easier to be extreme. It's much easier to say, I'm not going to feel anything, or I'm going to let my emotions run my life. But that's not the answer. The answer is balance. It's finding that middle ground where you can acknowledge your emotions without letting them control you, where you can feel them without being ruled by them, where you can be human without being weak. And that's what we're striving for. That's what we're working toward. A life of balance, a life of discipline, a life of freedom. Because when you have balance, when you have discipline, when you have control over your emotions and your actions, you can achieve anything. You can overcome any challenge. You can live the life you've always wanted. So don't give up. Don't quit. Keep pushing. Keep moving forward. And remember, the only way to fail is to quit. So don't quit. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep living. And one day you'll look back and realize that all the struggles, all the failures, all the pain, it was all worth it. Because it made you who you are. And who you are is someone who doesn't quit. Someone who doesn't make excuses. Someone who takes ownership of their life and fights for what they want. And that's the kind of person who wins. That's the kind of person who lives a life of freedom and fulfillment. That's the kind of person you are. So go out there and prove it.